Teen's incredible secret revealed, shocking genius transforms courtroom into life-changing arena. In the heart of a quaint suburban neighborhood in Ohio, 16-year-old Mia Thompson felt invisible. In a world where she should have thrived, her brilliance, a mind that danced with numbers, slipped into obscurity. Her mother worked double shifts, her face etched with exhaustion, while Mia carried the weight of unmet potential on her slender shoulders. The school halls felt more like cages, filled with whispers of inequality and a lack of resources. But little did they know, hidden behind those quiet eyes was a fierce spark of hope. Mia's heart raced as she sat at the family dining table one evening, scribbling equations in the dim light, determined to make sense of the chaos around her. The flickering candle cast shadows on her notebook where equations seemed to breathe life. She wanted so desperately to help her neighbors, those who had given her family meals and hugs when they were down. When a powerful developer threatened to bulldoze her community for a luxury complex, a fire ignited within her. She couldn't sit idly by any longer. "Mom, we can't just let them take our home," Mia said, trembling with urgency. Her mother, a resolute force of care, looked up, fear glimmering in her eyes. "Mia, pushing back could hurt us. We might lose everything," she warned, her voice heavy with love and panic. Those words stung like daggers, raising doubts in Mia's heart. Could standing up for what was right ruin the only safety they had? "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. As the courtroom loomed, it transformed into a battleground where hope and fear danced dangerously close. Mia discovered her unique talent for creating an innovative algorithm that could expose the developer's greed. The more she uncovered, the clearer her path became. Yet with each calculated prediction, she felt the weight of her mother's fear anchor her down. What if her genius turned into a weapon that hurt the one person she loved most? The day of the trial arrived, and the air crackled with tension as Mia stood before the judge. Her heart raced, pounding like a war drum as she prepared to speak. She took a deep breath, sensing the weight of her neighbors' hopes resting upon her shoulders. But doubt clawed at her heart. Should this moment define her? With the silence wrapping tightly around her, Mia finally gathered the courage to voice her findings. "Our community deserves better. We cannot be silenced," she declared, the conviction filling her voice and igniting a spark among her neighbors. She caught the loving gaze of her mother in the crowd, but also the glimmer of anxiety reflecting back. At that moment, it all seemed to hang in the balance. Would this fight preserve their community or shatter the fragile bond between them? The clock ticked away, amplifying the heartbeat in Mia's chest, and just as she stood on the precipice of a life-changing revelation, the judge called for a recess. An eerie silence enveloped the room, and the air felt thick with unresolved tension. What path would Mia ultimately choose, and how would it shape her family's future? Mia sat in the courtroom, her mind racing through a whirlwind of emotions. The judge's gavel had struck, but the chaos in her heart raged on. She looked at the faces of her neighbors, their eyes filled with a mix of hope and fear. Could her algorithm really change everything? Could it be the key to saving their homes, or would it be a gate to a future she wasn't ready to face? As the recess stretched painfully long, she felt the unease creeping into her thoughts again. What if the developer's attorneys tore her findings apart? What if her own mother resented her for speaking up? Silently, she clenched her fists, willing the doubts to dissipate. "Mia," a familiar voice broke through her reverie. It was Mr. Jenkins, the kind old man from 2 doors down. He leaned closer, his weathered face showing concern. "You're doing what's right, you know. You've got this." His words hung in the air, a lifeline amidst her doubts. "Thank you, Mr. Jenkins," she replied. The reassurance he offered filled her with warmth, but then she thought of her mother again. But what if I hurt her? What if this all backfires? He shook his head, his eyes steady. Sometimes standing up is the hardest thing to do. But if you don't fight for what's yours, you might lose it without even trying. His words ignited a spark of determination in Mia. Maybe he was right. Maybe this was her moment to not just change her community, but redefine her own destiny. When the judge returned, Mia stood taller. She could feel the gaze of everyone in the room, waiting for her to continue. The weight of their dreams hung heavy, and yet, it was exhilarating. She brushed her hair behind her ears and straightened her posture. I have proof, she began. Proof that the developer's plans will devastate our community. The murmurs in the room grew louder, an electric current zipping through the crowd. Using the data I collected, we can see how much they intend to charge for these homes. It's not just numbers, they're trying to shove us out, to profit from our struggles. Gasps erupted around her, and she felt the thrill of revelation wash over her. It was now or never. Out of the corner of her eye, she spotted her mother standing at the back. Though she carried a look of dread, there was also pride flickering in her expression. Mia's heart ached. She wanted her mother to be part of this fight, not just a spectator. I'm not just protecting my home. I'm fighting for all of you, for us, she continued, her voice cracking slightly with emotion. For everyone who deserves a place to live, thrive, and call home. The energy in the room shifted, a wave of energy washing over the audience, igniting their spirits. They were no longer just witnesses, they were participants. But with the surge of adrenaline came a wave of memories. Late nights spent fretting over their bills. The neighbor who had already been forced to move. The haunting fear of instability that crept around every dark corner of their lives. Just then, the developer's attorney stood, face pale and eyes narrowed. Objection, Your Honor. He shouted, the arrogance dripping from his voice. This is all speculation. Where is the concrete evidence of this so-called devastation? Mia gasped, the doubt crawling back into her mind like a thief in the night. Panic surged through her as she realized they might need more than just her words. As the judge listened intently, Mia's heart raced again. Could she muster the strength to find the evidence to back up her claims? Could she truly be the voice of a community? Your Honor, she interrupted, trembling but unyielding. She couldn't afford to back down. I'll prove it. As the judge nodded, Mia felt the walls of the courtroom closing in, but also the clearest path of all ahead. Little did she know, the fight had just begun, and a new threat was looming, one that would challenge everything she believed in. Would she be ready to face it? Mia's heart raced with a mix of urgency and defiance. I'll prove it. Echoed in her ears like a war cry. The tension in the courtroom felt electric, every eye trained on her. She could sense her neighbors leaning in closer, hanging on her every word. But deep down, the weight of doubt resurfaced. The developer's attorney smirked, clearly convinced of their impending victory. Your Honor, we'd like to see evidence that the implementation of this algorithm has any real-world impact. His voice dripped with disdain, a taunt that stirred even deeper fears in Mia. Evidence. I can gather evidence, she whispered under her breath, her mind racing back to the countless hours spent analyzing data, spreadsheets spread out across her kitchen table, coffee stains congealed with frantic notes. With a newfound resolve, she took a breath. I can bring in expert witnesses. People from the community who can testify to the changes. I have data from past developments, statistical models that predict the negative consequences of gentrification. Her voice grew stronger with each word. The judge nodded, allowing her moment to expand on her thoughts, but the developer's attorney interjected sharply, and where is this evidence? A few personal stories won't cut it. We need something tangible. Mia felt the chill of doubt close in again. The attorney was right, she needed more than memories and promises. But what could she do? She couldn't let the weight of defeat crush her now, not with so many people relying on her. Your Honor, she summoned the courage, I will gather the data, the stories, and the facts we need to present how this development could destroy our community. Just give me a little time. The judge's brow furrowed, but Mia could see the flicker of interest in his eyes. Very well, Ms. Thompson. I will grant you a short recess. A week to prepare your evidence. But understand, he raised a finger, this is your only chance. The gavel hit the desk, and the tension in the air shifted. A mix of relief and terror washed over Mia. She had a week to change everything, but could she really pull it off? As she stepped out of the courtroom, she felt lightheaded, the voices of her neighbors fading together into a single chant in her mind, "You can do this." But when she spotted her mother still lingering near the doors, Mia's heart wrenched. Would this battle push her mother further away? Mom. She hesitated. Her mother glanced over, her face etched with a storm of conflicting emotions. What do you think? I wish you hadn't put your neck on the line like this, her mother replied, eyes glossy with worry. But if you believe it's right, I'll support you. Mia couldn't help but smile at her mother's softened tone, but the pain of their strained relationship hung heavy in the air. I just want to make things better for us, for everyone. Her mother nodded, but Mia could see the uncertainty still lurking. It didn't ease her own worries. Over the next days, the pressure intensified. Mia buried herself in research, searching for documented cases of other similar developments. She reached out to activists, experts familiar with housing inequities, and even those who had lived the struggle firsthand. Every email felt like a lifeline. With each response, her confidence steadily grew, but so did the looming fear. What if she was just playing catch-up? What if it was already too late? The night before her presentation, sleep eluded her. She stared at the mountain of papers strewn across her desk, the walls of her bedroom seeming to close in. The shadows cast by her desk lamp felt ominous, reminding her of how far she'd come, but also how far she still needed to go. Mia closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and whispered softly, I want to let you down. A quiet reassurance for herself, because tomorrow, everything would change. As the dark hours crept toward dawn, one final thought flickered in her mind, a nagging question. What if she was awakened too late for the fight that mattered most? Mia woke up exhausted, the weight of the world pressing down on her as she got out of bed. Morning light streamed through the curtains, illuminating the chaos of her bedroom. Papers were strewn everywhere, reminders of the overwhelming task ahead. Today was the day she had to present her findings. It was her shot to prove that their community mattered. She felt nervous yet determined. She couldn't allow doubt to seep in again. Downstairs, the smell of coffee filled the air, a comfort amid her mounting anxiety. Her mother was already up, scanning the newspaper as Mia poured herself a cup. You ready for today? Her mother asked, not looking up. I will be. Each word felt heavy, laced with both hope and trepidation. Mia sat across from her, clenching the mug tightly. She needed her mother's support now more than ever, and despite the tension that had lingered, she hoped today could be different. You've got this, Mia, her mother said finally, glancing at her. Just remember why you're doing this. Mia nodded, swallowing down the urge to express her fears. Today was not about them, it was about the fight for their neighborhood and the people who called it home. The courtroom felt different compared to before. It buzzed with anticipation as neighborhood supporters filled the gallery. Mia's heart surged with a mix of fear and heartbreak as she caught glimpses of familiar faces. Mrs. Gonzalez waved from the back, while Mr. Davis offered a thumbs up. They believed in her. They believed in them. As she approached the podium, her hands trembled slightly. She faced the judge, trying to rein in her nerves. Your Honor, she began, her voice shaky but growing steadier with each word. Today, I will present testimonies and evidence showing the impact of gentrification on our community. This is not just a development proposal, this is our lives at stake. The developer's attorney rolled his eyes, crossing his arms over his chest. She didn't let it deter her. Instead, she dove straight into the data she had painstakingly gathered, citing studies and statistics that laid bare the stark realities of displacement. Each fact felt like a lifeline, each word building purpose that resonated with the audience. When she introduced her expert witnesses, Mia felt the energy shift. They were not just voices from the community but people whose lives had been directly affected by similar developments. Their tales were raw and heart-wrenching. One witness, a single mother, spoke of being pushed out of her home and struggling to find affordable housing. Each story added weight to Mia's argument. But the powerful moment came when she presented a video montage. She had compiled clips of community members' children playing in the park, neighbors exchanging stories, families gathering for community dinners. The room fell silent, the visuals punctuating her words profoundly. This was home, this was worth fighting for. As Mia finished, she looked out at her community. Hope flickered in their eyes, and for the first time, she could see the glimmer of belief that change was possible. But she also faced the steely gaze of the developer's attorney. The fight was far from over. "Your Honor, that was nothing but nostalgia dressed up as data," he interrupted sharply. "Where's the real evidence that this development would hurt anyone?" Mia's stomach twisted as she realized the battle was still on. They had to do more. The urgency to act surged through her veins. With a deep breath, she steadied herself, determined to counter every argument thrown their way. Time was running out, and she would not let them silence her. Tomorrow could mean everything, but failure wasn't an option. What if she could turn the tables before the judge made his decision? What if she could uncover the truth that would break their case wide open? As she gathered her notes, one thought blared in her mind: how far was she willing to go for her community? Mia could feel the weight of the courtroom pressing against her as she took a deep breath. Her heart raced, but she couldn't let the fear paralyze her. She had come too far, and there were too many people counting on her. Today was about more than just her, it was about justice for her community. "We need more evidence," she thought, glancing at the quiet supporters in the gallery. All those hopeful faces, all those stories she was fighting for. She needed a way to ground her arguments in undeniable truth. As she walked back to her seat, an idea sparked in her mind. If she could bring in testimony from community experts and collect more data, maybe she could sway the judge's opinion. What if I can find someone willing to take a bigger risk? The thought drifted through her mind. Maybe Mrs. Gonzalez she wouldn't want to put her in a difficult position. But then Mia remembered a community organizer who had faced off against developers before. Yes. She could reach out to Marisol. If anyone could add weight to her case, it was her. The courtroom buzzed with murmurs as Mia scribbled Marisol's name on a piece of paper. She felt an inch of courage rising within her. She could reach out. After the session, before the judge made his decision, she could speak to her. Time ticked away faster than Mia realized. She could hear the judge's gavel echoing, signaling moments that passed like minutes. The developer's attorney was now outlining their argument, dismissing the community's fears as overblown. Mia clenched her fists. Each word felt like a punch to the gut. As she sat listening, her thoughts spilled over to her community members, their hopes resting on the outcome of this battle. Every familiar face, every friendly smile reminded her of the stakes involved. They couldn't just lose this. The tension felt like it had weight, sitting heavily on her shoulders. Once the session wrapped up, Mia rushed out of the courtroom, intent on finding Marisol. She navigated through the hallways, her pulse racing, concerned that she might be too late. After a few minutes, she spotted Marisol speaking to another community member in the lobby. Mia felt an unease, a swirl of hope and anxiety. Did Marisol have time? Would she be willing to testify? She approached slowly, uncertain. "There's something I need to discuss with you," Mia said, her voice trembling slightly. Marisol turned, her warm brown eyes narrowing in curiosity. "What is going on, Mia?" "I am presenting for our community, and I need more evidence, something that really stands out." Marisol studied her for a moment. "You want me to testify?" Yes. Your experience could completely change the outcome. It shows the real impact of what is happening to us. I don't know, Mia, Marisol hesitated, looking away momentarily. It's risky. What if they come after me? What if they try to silence us even more? Mia felt a swell of desperation. But if we don't act, how will they know what is happening? This is our chance. Please, for our community. Marisol's eyes softened, and for a moment, Mia could see the wheels turning in her mind. The air felt thick with uncertainty, but it matched the fear bubbling within Mia. What if this was their chance to make their voices heard? The question hung there. What if Marisol agreed, and they turned the tide? There was so much on the line, and Mia could almost taste the change. But now, the clock was ticking. Would Marisol be courageous enough to join her? With the weight of the moment hanging between them, Mia's heart beat louder than ever. This could be their turning point, but would it come at a cost? Marisol took a step back, her eyes wide. Mia's heart skipped a beat. She could practically hear the gears in Marisol's mind turning. I know this is a lot to ask, Mia rushed to say, but the community needs you. If we don't do something now, we might never have another chance. Marisol glanced back over her shoulder. The world seemed to fade around them, just the two of them stood at the crossroads of hope and fear. It's not just my voice at stake, Mia. It's my family, my job. I've fought against developers long enough to know what they are capable of. But your story, this was her last chance to change Marisol's mind. Your story embodies the struggle. You've seen what their plans did to families. That might be what we need to show the judge, that this isn't just about profit. For several long minutes, Marisol held Mia's gaze. The uncertainty washed over her like a tide. What if they use my words against me, she finally asked. The vulnerability in her question tugged at Mia. It was a risk they both faced. Then we'll fight back. Together. Mia squeezed Marisol's arm gently. They can't silence us forever. If we take this step, it might inspire others to join us. The thought lingered in the air, a beacon of courage. Finally, Marisol drew in a shaky breath, her resolve changing. Okay. I'll do it, she said, and Mia felt an electric surge of hope. But we have to be smart about it. We need to gather all our evidence before anything. I can reach out to other people. Mia nodded, relief washing over her. But deep down, she knew this was only the beginning. Marisol was putting herself at risk, and it scared Mia more than she'd like to admit. They had to tread carefully. In the coming days, they met in the evenings at the community center, gathering testimonies from neighbors. Mia listened as each person recounted tales of evictions, families torn apart, and dreams crushed under the weight of greed. These stories made Mia's heart ache, yet ignited a fire within her. Each narrative was a thread weaving together the fabric of their collective fight. As the trial date loomed closer, Mia felt a growing urgency. They needed to be ready. She and Marisol planned their strategy, rehearsing in front of the mirror, each word pressed with meaning. This is our moment, Marisol would say, and Mia would echo it back as if it were a rallying cry. But fear lingered. Every time she saw a group of corporate lawyers lurking in the shadows of the courtroom, the unease sneaked into her stomach. What if their efforts weren't enough? What if the judge was swayed by money and influence? Tension escalated when a questionable message arrived in Mia's inbox late one night. An anonymous tip, a warning about consequences if they continued to push back. Who would want to silence them? Why now? Mia's heart sank as she held the phone in her trembling hands. Fear pricked at her resolve. Their fight was more dangerous than they had anticipated. Would Marisol still be willing to testify? Would the community stand with them when the chips were down? With a deep breath, she knew it was time to meet again. They needed to discuss the implications of this message. She felt the gravity of every decision weighing heavily upon her. Would this unexpected threat break their spirit, or would it fuel their determination? As Mia headed toward the community center, her footsteps echoed in the empty corridors. She knew she had to rally everyone together. Anonymity could bring chaos, but the collective strength of their community could outweigh any threat. This fight was not just for their present, but also for their future. The moment she reached the door, the sounds of laughter seeped through, mingling with the sense of urgency. This was not the time to falter. They had come too far together. But the question loomed large in her mind: what would they face when the truth came out? And when it did, would it still feel like a fight for justice, or had they set themselves up for a battle far greater than they imagined? Mia pushed the door open with a flutter of nervous energy, the laughter spilling out like sunlight. A wave of warmth and camaraderie washed over her, easing her tension just a bit. The community center was buzzing with familiar faces. She caught sight of Marisol, deep in conversation with a group of neighbors, but there was no mistaking the fire in her eyes. It was the same determination she had felt before. "Hey everyone!" Mia called out, her voice rising above the chatter as she made her way towards Marisol. Heads turned, and conversations quieted. She could feel a shift in the air, a collective heartbeat of uncertainty mixed with hope. "What's wrong?" Marisol's soft voice drowned out the sound of their surroundings as she reached for Mia's hand. The warmth of that touch grounded Mia, but the weight of their urgency still pressed on her chest. "Just got a warning," Mia replied, swallowing hard. "We might be in more danger than we thought." The room fell silent, eyes locked onto Mia. "They're trying to scare us into silence." A murmur ran through the crowd, a mix of concern and determination. "What do we do?" asked Javier, a frail man from down the street who had spent years fighting against the looming shadow of gentrification. The sincerity in his eyes made Mia feel the weight of the community's hopes resting on her shoulders. "We stand together," Mia replied, finding her voice. "We can't let fear divide us. If they have a message, we need to turn it back on them." A ripple of agreement surged through the group. The anxiety that had threatened to drown her began to feel lighter. Marisol stepped forward, her posture straighter than Mia had ever seen. "We are not just individuals in this fight. We are a community. They can threaten us all they want, but we won't back down. Our stories matter." Her voice cracked slightly, but the passion was there, alive and radiant. The energy in the room shifted again, heads nodding, fists clenching in solidarity. They began to share their fears and plans, each person lifting another. Mia could see the spark igniting within each of them. "Maybe we do a video," Mia suggested. "We could share our stories online. Let people hear our voices, see our faces." She leaned into the possibility, fueled by the contagion of hope. "If we speak as one, they won't be able to silence us." "Yes!" shouted Rosa, a mother of 3 who had faced eviction only weeks before. "Our stories are powerful. Let us show them we fight for more than property. We're fighting for homes, for family, for belonging." The room erupted into a chorus of agreement, passionate voices rising to fill the community center like an anthem. Mia felt her heart swell in her chest. As they began to dissect their ideas, plotting out a strategy for their video project, a sense of clarity filled her. It wouldn't be enough just to tell their stories, they needed to connect those stories to their community's struggles and dreams. But just as they were beginning to wrap their heads around it, a shadow passed outside the window. A figure loitered, someone watching them. The laughter faltered, words caught in throats, as everyone's attention shifted. Who was out there? "Stick to the plan," Mia whispered, her throat dry as she felt fear creeping back. "We're in this together, no matter what." She turned back to the window, her pulse quickening. The chill of knowing danger was a breath away settled over her like ice. What would happen if the message sent before was about to be fulfilled? Would their united front hold strong, or would it crumble under the weight of intimidation? And what if this wasn't just a fight against developers anymore, but a fight for their very right to be heard? As the gathering resumed its fervent chatter, Mia's mind raced. They needed to act fast, but could they become a true force before the threats turned into something worse? Mia tried to steady her breathing as she watched the figure shift nervously outside. Was it one of the developers? Or someone sent to intimidate them? She could feel her community's collective breath hanging in the air, thick with anxiety. Is someone out there? Javier asked, craning his neck to catch a glimpse. Whispers rippled through the crowd, the excitement from their planning suddenly punctured by unease. Marisol stepped closer to Mia, her eyes narrowing. We can't let this distract us. What can they do? We're here for each other. Her voice held a resolute strength, but Mia could feel the underlying tremor that matched her own. Maybe we should confront them, one of the younger members, a bold teenager named Amara, suggested. If they're scared of us, then we should show them we're not backing down. Mia admired Amara's bravery but feared the dangers of such a confrontation. No, let us stay focused on our message. We can't let them provoke us. Just then, another figure stepped out from the shadows, their silhouette clearer now. It was a man in a suit, a camera dangling from his neck, but his demeanor felt threatening nonetheless. Mia's heart sank as she instinctively readied herself for what might come next. The man walked purposefully toward the entrance of the center, a confident smile plastered on his face. Is this where the community meeting is happening? He asked, projecting a calmness that felt out of place given the intensity of the moment. Who are you? Mia asked, her voice stronger than she felt. James Martin, he replied, adjusting his camera lens. I'm here to cover your stories. The media needs to know what's happening in communities like yours. Gasps of surprise flitted through the room. This was unexpected and a bit disconcerting. What do you mean cover? Are you really on our side? Marisol asked, crossing her arms defensively, still eyeing him with suspicion. Mia stepped forward. If you're here to help, then prove it. We need our voices amplified, not twisted. James nodded, understanding the tension. I'm here to listen. But I also want to show the world what gentrification is really doing. I need genuine stories. Then let us do it, Mia suggested, her heart thrumming in her chest. We can gather together now and record our thoughts, make sure every voice is heard. But we have to trust you. There was uncertainty in her tone, but behind it, a seed of hope began to sprout. James raised his camera. I'm ready when you are. This is your moment. Mia glanced around the room. Everyone looked a little hesitant, confused about whether they could accept a stranger's help. Marisol caught Mia's gaze and smiled with encouragement. Taking a deep breath, she clasped her hands together to steady herself. Okay, everyone, Mia called out, her confidence gradually returning. If we're doing this, we need to be real. Let us talk about what is going on, a true picture of our lives. One by one, people began to share their stories. Calmly at first, then gaining momentum as they fed off one another's energy. They spoke of dreams shattered by eviction notices, of families struggling to make ends meet. The room began to pulse with intensity, transformation fueled by their united front. But in the back of her mind, Mia still felt the shadow of danger lurking. She could sense that this was just the beginning. The threats loomed larger, and she wondered how far they could push back against those in power. As they finished recording their truths, Mia felt a sense of accomplishment wash over her. The community was alive with purpose, they were finding their voice through the fear. But just as she glanced back at James, his expression clouded, she noticed the man outside was still lingering, peering in as if assessing the damage. And in that moment, the question loomed: was this truly their time to shine, or had they just stepped deeper into the fight that might consume them all? What would happen next when the truth they shared inevitably met the ruthless forces trying to silence them? Mia tried to shake off the unease settling into her bones as she scanned the faces of her neighbors. They were still buzzing from the cathartic process of sharing their stories, but she could feel a shift in the atmosphere. The man outside, whose presence loomed like a heavy cloud over the center, was still watching them. Okay, let us keep that energy going. Who wants to step up next? Mia encouraged, her voice strong but tinged with concern. She still held on to the hope that their moment was really unfolding, a moment where they could reclaim not just their stories, but their lives. Amara rose sharply, her defiance sparking a renewed sense of courage. I'll go. With wide eyes, she faced the camera. I'm Amara, and I've grown up here in this neighborhood. It's where I learned to ride my bike, made friends for life, and found a community that feels like family. Her words flowed like a river, breaking barriers as others took their cue from her. One after another, voices lifted. A father spoke of the dreams he had for his children, dreams now crushed by rent increases. A grandmother recounted her journey from another country, only to feel the tug of progress forcing her away again. With each story, the emotion deepened. Their pain was raw, but so was their resilience. James shifted through the crowd, capturing every moment, every tear, every smile. The people began to realize the power in their vulnerability, how their stories lit a spark in the room. Mia had never felt this kind of energy before. It was a blend of hope, fear, and truth. She looked at James, who was nodding, his focus unwavering. But a chill crept down her spine as she caught sight of the man lingering outside. He stood still, watching, and a flicker of doubt danced in her mind. What did he want? With that distraction nagging at her, she felt her confidence waver just a bit. Let us not forget why we're doing this, she said, rallying her strength. This isn't just about talking. It's about taking a stand, making sure the world hears us. Just then, the door swung open. The lingering man stepped into the room, and all heads turned. The mood shifted as tension seeped back in. He was shorter than Mia expected but carried a potent air of authority that made everyone instinctively tense up. Excuse me, he said, his tone clipped. I'm Inspector Harris. I need to ask you all to shut this down. You don't have the proper permits for this gathering. Gasps echoed, but Mia stood frozen. This is our right. We have every reason to be here, to talk about what is happening to our homes. Harris studied the crowd, pushing through the murmurs that followed. You may have your rights, but your gathering is disruptive. If you don't disperse immediately, I'll have no choice but to call for backup. Fear rippled through the group as the people exchanged anxious looks. Mia's heart raced, feeling the weight of everyone's uncertainty. One confrontation after another, it felt like a bad dream. Where was their protection? But before Mia could respond, James stepped forward. Look, we're here to tell our stories. And those stories matter. Why don't you listen? Inspector Harris narrowed his eyes. This isn't about listening. This is about maintaining order. Mia's mind raced. This couldn't be the way it ended. With a fierce surge of determination, she took a step forward, fueled by the voices behind her. We won't back down. Our stories will be heard. We are not just numbers on a chart. As she spoke, her conviction radiated out, feeding the collective strength of her neighbors. They were not just onlookers anymore, they were united. But as Harris's glare grew colder, Mia sensed a storm brewing. What consequences lingered for their stand? And would they really have the strength to face whatever was coming next? In that charged moment, as she locked eyes with a defiant Amara, she felt something shift within herself. They had to brace for the fight ahead, but would they be ready for the storm that was about to break? Mia stood tall, her heart beating like a drum. Every word she had spoken echoed through her mind, intertwining with the murmurs of determination from the crowd. Inspector Harris loomed before her, a figure of authority, but here was her truth, raw and unyielding. Yes, you can call backup, she replied, her voice steadying with courage. But know this: we stand together and won't let intimidation dictate our rights. A ripple of support swelled around her, neighbors stepping closer, hands clenched into fists, eyes blazing with determination. This was their moment, where bravery took precedence over fear. She could almost touch the strength of their unity, pulsing like a steady heartbeat. Harris's gaze shifted, uncertainty creeping into his expression. This is your last warning. I will be forced to take action. Mia could see the apprehension growing among her neighbors. The fear that had once rooted them in silence began to dissipate, replaced by something stronger and unbreakable resolve. Then let them come, shouted Amara, her voice cutting through the tension. We're not afraid anymore. With that declaration, the crowd erupted into rhythm, voices rising in a wave of solidarity. We won't back down. They chanted, a chorus of defiance that echoed through the walls like an anthem. Unexpectedly, the door swung open again, and this time it was Marisol who stepped into the doorway. She had her phone in hand, recording everything with a fierce light in her eyes. Don't let him take our courage. This is our moment. The inspector flinched, rattled by the unexpected turnout of voices. Mia's urge for action surged within her again. The truth of their community needed to shine brighter than any intimidation tactic. Listen, everyone, she began again, raising her hands to gather their attention amid the fervor. What we're doing here today matters more than ever. Our voices cannot be silenced any longer. The energy shifted, deepened, taking on weight and purpose. Families around Mia caught the contagious spirit, each individual ready to share their story. They looked at Inspector Harris, and for one powerful moment, Mia could see doubt creeping into his eyes, felt the fear he imposed on them start to collapse under their collective passion. Phil, a local teacher, stepped forward. We're not just a neighborhood, we're a family. We want more than basic rights, we deserve to thrive. The inspector took a step back, unsure of his ground, as if he was standing on shaky soil. Across the room, James continued to film, capturing the wave of emotions that enveloped the gathering: fear, hope, solidarity. It was all there. Mia felt the adrenaline rush through her veins. She needed to harness it. Let us show you what we mean. She shouted, the call striking through the noise. We can show our stories, our struggles. Let the world see who we truly are. In that moment, the voices surged again, each person standing tall like beacons of resilience. As the anger mounted, concern for their lives morphed into a driving force, forging connections stronger than fear. They had chosen to gather, speak, and show up for one another, battling against injustice. Your heart will only grow heavier with every name you've seen on eviction lists, Mia directed towards Harris, taking a step closer, her eyes fierce with purpose. We are not statistics. We are the bonds of neighbors, friends, and families, intertwined in a community that refuses to be torn apart. Something shifted in the inspector's composure. Each step taken down the path to confrontation echoed resilience, and for the first time, he wasn't the one holding all the cards. The crowd was transforming. They weren't the fragile fears from before. They were warriors ready to stake their claim. Harris swallowed hard, glancing back as mutters circulated amongst the group. Their stories were relentless. Families were at risk of everything just by being together, and this fight was more than property. It was about identity, belonging, and finally, refusal to hide in the shadows. Just when Mia thought the tide might finally turn, another figure appeared at the door, a lawyer with a fierce expression, crisp suit, and a confident stride, taking charge of Harris's attention. Let us discuss this peacefully, the newcomer proposed, unfamiliar reality meeting fierce maternal love. Mia's heart raced with relief. But could peace hold against such determined passion? The tension could snap in a heartbeat. Peaceful doesn't mean silenced. Someone yelled. We fight. Mia caught her breath, knowing all too well the uncertainty they faced. Civil rights wouldn't be taken lightly. Would this lawyer really listen? Would they acknowledge the weight of their plea? If it's a fight they want, Mia thought, we'll give it to them. The room surged with affirmation again, bodies moving seamlessly closer to one another. Mia looked at her neighbors, faces bright with determination. It was their stories that mattered. It was their voices that would be the change, lessons etched in labor and resilience. As the lawyer began to speak, Mia's heart raced but hope blossomed in her chest. The community and supportive intention formed a barrier against intimidation. This was no longer just her fight. It was theirs, and together, they would stand tall against anyone who tried to silence them. And as the conversation spiraled and unfolded, Mia witnessed the piecing together of a movement that held power, bolstered by collective love that refused to break. In that moment, she knew the truth. It wasn't about the threats they faced, it was about the courage to rise stronger and become the shield for each other. They would face the storm that was approaching together and they would win. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us get these stories to the people who need to hear them. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this epic ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support means everything.